Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
Prayer.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you've committed to their charge. Amen.
Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's sitting. During yesterday's debate on the State of Nation address, thanking the President, there was an issue that was raised by a leader of opposition, which we feel was very pertinent. The issues that were raised and highlighted by the leader of opposition on various human rights related matters. And considering the seriousness of the matter that came up yesterday, we need government to give us the status of those matters that were raised by leader of opposition and the one that was previously presented to government. So the leader of government business should present the status next week by Thursday. I will therefore invoke Rule 52 to allow executive to respond on other issues, especially on the one of the LOC1 system. On the one on the human rights, they will come with the status next week on Thursday. We need the record cleared on what was raised, and we need to know who is who and who is where and what should be done. So the Prime Minister should come to the House on 27th July and present a report on human rights. Once more, I want to thank you, but you do want to hear from government on the issue of the LOC1 system that was raised yesterday. Government.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, we commit to inform and update this House on the issue of LOC 1s and 2s tomorrow, Thursday. And the Prime Minister will be here to make it.
Procedure. Let's start Solomon.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Anthony, then there is a very short, taller person somewhere.
Procedure matter. Yesterday, during plenary, you gave a directive asking the Prime Minister to invite the Attorney General to come and inform the House. Right Honorable Speaker, it is on record, the Prime Minister informed this House that the Attorney General is on the way, he's only delayed, but he's going to come. during yesterday's session. Is it therefore procedurally right for the Honorable Bahat today to come, stand here and tell us that we wait again until tomorrow? With all what is happening in the villages, the local councils cannot operate, everyone is stuck, right, Honorable Speaker, and this is a directive that was done yesterday. Is it procedurally right for the Honorable Bahat to come and seek more time on something that was already agreed on in the House yesterday? Actually, I thought he would have come even with the document. Right, Honorable, is it procedurally right to move like that? Right, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I got a letter from Honorable Kiriowa Kiwanuka. He is unable to be here, he's not well. Then the Deputy Attorney General also called and said he had a meeting in State House. But since the Prime Minister is around, the Prime Minister is the leader of all these ministers. So we can still get a response. Yes, Honorable Call.
Right, Honorable Speaker, before the term of the LC1 and LC2 expired, I came on the floor of Parliament to alert the government. It was the Deputy Speaker who was sharing the meeting of that day. And I think the leader of government business would agree with me that I alerted the government that this crisis is coming to the country. As we talk now, right now I got communication from my constituency. There are people who went to court to get the bail, they can't get it because they're supposed to go with LC1 letters. So this is a crisis in the country. Right, Honorable Speaker, are we proceeding right? Is there any way we can, maybe, since this is a problem that affects everybody in the country, we can suspend the Parliament and wait for them so that we show government that this is a serious issue in the country. Otherwise, they are taking it for granted, and we have been alerting government on this issue. Every day, different members have been coming on this issue on the floor of Parliament, and if we don't show seriousness in this, we might not succeed. Thank you.
Honorable Goretti Kivalia.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. Yesterday, Honorable Bahati was commended for coming here very early. And my assumption was that he really takes much attention to know what has happened in this House. Yesterday, when the Honorable Prime Minister was informing the House that the Attorney General is coming to respond, actually she said within 2 hours. I was very surprised to see the committed Honorable Bahati on the floor informing Parliament that we shall bring a report within 2 days. Right, Honorable Speaker, the front bench is taking this House for granted. And considering the importance of the LCs and the crisis that it has caused, is the Honorable Bahati in order to come and continue confusing this House? Yes, you should come and respond. Are you in order to come and continue confusing the House?
Honorable members, you know, when you look at Honorable Bahati, he's just a size mate to Goretti. So that's why you see Goretti is particular. Those are size mates. Yes, Honorable Chivalia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, whether front bench or no. Right Honorable Speaker, there is a crisis in the village. Right Honorable Speaker, the chairpersons in our area have hidden the stamps. The stamps are now hidden. They are not operating because the committee has threatened to grab the stamps. The challenge is yes. Right Honorable Speaker, the challenge is, I think these LCs were charged something like 20,000. So they are saying when the community is set to grab the stamps, they need their refund. So government should come out and tell the public what next. Right Honorable Speaker, another incident, recently we were somewhere on a function. They invited the chairman LC1 to give a keynote address, and the community refused. They said he's expired, he's no longer a chairman. So they stopped him from addressing. So this is where we are, and these are the scenarios happening. Stamps are hidden. You can no longer get a letter from Chairman LC1 because the community has threatened to grab this. So we need the position, Right Honorable.
Thank you. Santa, Nathan, still on LOC. I thought we are supposed to come up with a resolution. Honorable members, we agreed. We agreed that we need a LOC system. Just like somebody has said, you cannot sign surety for anybody in court because it's unconstitutional. Because their term of office has expired. We need the LOCs in place. And government has asked for only tomorrow. Government has asked for tomorrow. Can we agree that tomorrow, we give them up to tomorrow? We give them to tomorrow. And if we don't get an action tomorrow, then we will go. We'll see what to do. Honorable members, we'll see what to do after we get a report tomorrow from government. Yes, we don't need an LOC one for us to sit in the house. Okay? Now, stop saying that we close the house. No, here we don't need an LOC one, but we must legislate to have an LOC one. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, you are right.
No, she was on the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for that wise ruling. Madam Speaker, I sit on the Committee on Legal. We have also been waiting for the Attorney General to appear before our committee, but all in vain. And now that you have given us tomorrow, Madam Speaker, in my district, I have even a bigger crisis that the LC1s for the newly created town councils did not get their ex gracias in the last financial year. The district wrote to the Ministry of Finance, but nothing was done. 139 LC1s and even the council 3 councillors have not been paid. So wouldn't it be procedural right so that when the government is coming, the LC1s and the LC3 councillors of the newly created town council in Oyam district also to be included? And we want to know, Madam Speaker, through you, when the Ministry of Finance will provide
Let's
money
solve
for
a
this.
problem one by one. Let's first have the LOC, the system work. Once we have the system working, then we can now go back and say, okay, we need money for these people who have been working and have not been paid. Yes, Sechi?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, life is not starting tomorrow. Actually, life is every day. As we sit here, life outside is continuing. So you don't have to say, we shall wait tomorrow for one to be stood, to get a letter to stand bail for someone. As we sit here, you don't say wait for tomorrow for you to transact where the LCs are required to put their stamps. Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise to draw your attention and the attention of the House that there is a tendency to make this House and to take it for granted. Because once the Speaker in the chair summons the Honorable Attorney General and the Right Honorable Prime
I thought
Minister,
I'd made a ruling on that.
yes, but
Sechi, you've just come.
you are right, Right Honorable Speaker. But the impact of it is that how do we get from here
There is
outside?
an order on you.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you are the presiding officer in this House. And we have a crisis in this country. And you have made a ruling as far as the issue of LC1s is concerned. Is it therefore in order for the honorable colleague to continue dragging the House and insisting that we debate the same thing? Is it in order?
You know, the people who are insisting that we should stop working, we should close the House and go and start thinking for LOCs are the ones who like dodging. Such Kuba has just come to the House. Today is his day, second day. So he wants to go back and be in the village. he wants to go back and be in the village. Let's get a solution for LOC system from here. It doesn't need us to go down there in the village. Let's get a solution. Daudi?
Thank you so much,
James, on the same thing.
Right Honorable Speaker, for your wise ruling. However, Right Honorable Speaker, the Right Honorable Nakadama on Tuesday is the one who committed herself on behalf of government. And today it is the Honorable Bahati that is committing on behalf of government. Tomorrow he's going to be absent. The government needs to be clear on this. Who is committing on behalf of government today? So that tomorrow when that person doesn't come, we know the person that this house is supposed to ask.
Thank you, Honorable, for giving way. You know, the unfortunate thing is that we seem to be directing this question to a wrong person. This is not a matter for the Attorney General. This is a policy matter, which is the responsibility of the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And who has never appeared in this house ever since he was appointed, save for...
No.
So, yes, save for a few occasions. So, Right Honorable Speaker, in my considered opinion, you should direct the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to come and give the final position. And if he's not around, then we allow the Prime Minister to take charge. But forwarding this particular matter to the Attorney General is really to, it's not in order, because the policy person responsible is the Minister of Justice.
Honorable members, the government chief whip is looking for.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As he hobos on a border to look for the land Attorney General and his for the minister, Right, Honorable Speaker, we are leaders in this country, and these corridors are awash with information as to why we are where we are. And one such piece of information is the effect that the Ministry of Finance did not make money available for this process. The Minister of Finance is in the house. Can we hear from him, with your permission, whether he's made money available, so that we should stop wasting time over matters in our space? Is the Minister of Finance aware whether money has been released or found or being found for this process? Right, Honorable Speaker, that would save us some time too, because we are aware of what the issues are. Right, Honorable Speaker, that Honorable Speaker should reject the overtures from the Minister of Finance and should instead come and speak to the House. You know, when you run a government like a WhatsApp group, this is how you end. So the powers of financing are returned to the Speaker. The Speaker presided over this House. We passed the appropriation bill. And now the Minister of Finance is back to the Speaker for another budget. And the Speaker did her job in the House. So I don't know whether this government is a WhatsApp group and needs data.
Honorable members, what is Lob saying? Lob, there is government in place and government is in charge. And Parliament is here and is working. Honorable members, I was just making a simple inquiry. a law was passed that we should just line when you are electing an LOC1. How much money is that? I was telling finance here that if you gave each of my members, even if it is only 5 million, go and have elections in your place. Elections will be there. Elections will be there. The problem we have, honorable members, the problems we have is exaggerating figures. Figures were exaggerated, 56 billion. We cannot give 56 billion for that election. That's a lot of money. Let's have a realistic figure for us to be able to give money for LOC1 elections. Honorable members, yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you very much for that guidance. How I wish the side on your left was on your right. That would work. Because as we speak now, and that's why I really felt for the Honorable Musasize, if the sector minister, that is justice, through the Electoral Commission, has not come up in a timely manner with a reasonable budget, you cannot help. However, the firefighting in our government has led us to where we are. Firefighting in a sense. No, I don't want to talk about fishermen and women. They have their own way of doing things. There is a government which is aware that after a regular interval dictated by the Constitution, there will be an election. Now, you only need the government on your right, Madam Speaker, to get into this kind of crisis. My view is that you find pleasure in directing the Minister of Justice and the Ministry of Finance to sit down and come up with a realistic figure. Because what do you need the 50 billions for people who are going to line up? Number two, we have an electoral system that is decentralized up to the villages. The only thing we are grappling with is a vote of no confidence in our systems. It is simply a vote of no confidence. Don't you have parish supervisors? What do you need? Paying the 20,000, the poll trip 20,000 you pay to these presiding officers and assistants? I think, Right Honorable Speaker, you just need to give timelines. Thank you.
Honorable members, for us, what we want is a realistic budget for the election of LOC1s. For the lining, actually, because it is pure lining that you line. And you don't even have to pay agents. We want a realistic figure. And as Parliament, let's not be pushed into approving money anyhow, because we are desperate for LOC1s. By approving any amount, let's give money that is realistic. People come here at the last minute asking for money. I am happy he has come. Minister of Constitutional Affairs, who've been here. The whole of 11th Parliament has been here waiting for you. We want to know the position on the election of LOC1s and 2s. We are living in a country where you cannot even go and stand surety for anybody in court. You cannot, an LOC1 cannot even sign anything because they do not have the powers. So we want to know what is the position. Much as we are giving you up to tomorrow, we want to know what is the position. How do we proceed as a country?
Madam Speaker, on Monday, during the meeting of the cabinet, this matter was discussed. And equally, like the 11th Parliament members, the cabinet is also concerned about the implications of this expiry. I do not want, Madam Speaker, to preempt the rich menu which is going to be presented tomorrow by the Attorney General together with the Minister of Local Government. So I can only state that widely, and tomorrow the Parliament will be given the full briefing. I think it is better that I don't present what is supposed to be presented tomorrow.
Clarification.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank my brother and the former president. Yes, he's my former president. It is a fact. I wanted to seek clarification from him now in his capacity as Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. As we wait for
Honorable members, Honorable Mao was a former president in Makerere and was a former president to.
True. That is correct. Before we both left, Right Honorable Speaker, there is a Minister for Justice, and that is the policy head of the ministry. Now, what we are grappling with is not a matter of interpreting the law, because even people who never went to law school are able to understand the period of expiry for the LCs. And that one can only happen under the nose and watch of the Minister of Justice. You don't need the Attorney General. You don't need the Minister for Local Government, because the Minister for Local Government simply receives these structures. May we know from the minister how he came to sleep on the job. And that is not like of Mao. The Mao I know is not the kind of sleeping minister. May we know how he slept on the job for us to get to this crisis where we are.
Yes, there is another clarification from Central Butambala.
I will take it.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mao has once sat on the left, and he knows what it takes for people on the left to be able to critique the right. I look at this as a trick to let Parliament get into a supplementary expenditure, because we knew in time that the 5 years would expire. We have just concluded a budget process. Any sober person, like the Honorable Minister is, would have planned this and budgeted for this. As I seek clarification from you, don't you see this as a trick by the executive to get Parliament into a supplementary expenditure? Because they know by all standards we need LCs, we shall certainly have them, and they know it's a matter that Parliament will not afford to forego. How do you look at this matter presented to us as Parliament from the executive?
Thank you.
As I was telling you, that shouldn't be for Honorable Mao. When a supplementary comes here, we'll evaluate whether that is the amount that is sufficient for us to have the LOC1 system. We will not approve anything. It should be money that is used for the LOC system, the lining. They are not going to print pictures.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I didn't talk about the amount at all. I look at an item, expense of a particular item, or mixing.
Obviously, a supplementary will come. Take it or leave it. It will come.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
For the opportunity, Shami Malende, District Woman Representative for Kampala. And mine is directed to the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. We know that tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Rule 8 talks about anticipation. The Honourable Minister was very clear that a report related to LOC1 elections will be here tomorrow. But now we are seeking clarification over the same matter. Don't you think we are anticipating what they are going to present tomorrow? Would it be procedurally right
Order.
that we move on with today's business as we wait for the report tomorrow from the Prime Minister and the team. And then we can discuss or raise all the questions related to the matter that will be brought.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I think the honorable member from Kabula was not following when Honorable Segona was making his submission. The Minister for Justice clearly stated that the Minister of Local Government is going to come here tomorrow and make a statement about this issue. And the Honorable Segona was emphasizing the Ministry for Local Government has absolutely nothing to do with the elections of LCs.
He's a recipient.
Exactly. Therefore, this parliament only wants the government to commit itself, and the parliament also wants to know who is coming tomorrow to make a statement on behalf of government, not the Minister of Local Government, because he has nothing to do with these elections. Is he therefore in order?
But then there was also an aspect that yesterday it was Honorable Nakadama who made a commitment. Today it has been Honorable Bahati. Now we have government. Government is here. Government, can you make a commitment that tomorrow we shall receive a report?
Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I bring you greetings from our sisters and brothers of Rwanda, where I've been. I came this morning. Right, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the NRM government, headed by the able president, we are going to handle this matter, and there is no crisis. We shall handle. There is no crisis. Tomorrow we shall come with a statement.
Order, Right Honorable Speaker.
But she has left.
No, she was there.
No, she has left. She has left. Honorable members, we may pretend, but let's have this completed. Let's have this completed. I have had a number of people coming, they've been to court and they have rejected their letters of LOCs because the LOCs do not exist anymore. Next item.
Item 3, motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Equal Opportunities on the state of children's affairs in the country.
Procedure, Madam.
Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, you are presiding over a house of record. Even when I put a question to my brother, the Honorable Norbert Mao, which may seem to be a heavy one, I would want him to be on record making a response, because generations will condemn him when we are both not here to defend him, that I said he slept on Job. And that is not, that is unlike of Norbert Mao. He has always been alert. May you grant him the opportunity to wake up and answer.
Honorable Mao, just give a response that you did not sleep on Job or you slept.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member for Busiro East is extremely provocative. I thank him for the expectations and confidence he has in my ability to stay alert. I want to simply state that we encourage what we call a whole of government approach. At the Ministry of Justice, we have 3 ministers. And you, Madam Speaker, also know that we have put on record with you a request that at any given time, there will be one of us when Parliament is sitting, so that the Ministry of Justice is always represented. In this specific matter, the law is non-negotiable. Therefore, there is nothing like interpreting the law to mean what it does not mean. When this August House passed that law, its intentions were clear: to fix the term of office, and that term remains fixed. Now, all that is required is for government to come and announce the plan to deal with the problem that the country is now facing. We are not here to put our heads in the sand like the ostrich. We are admitting that this is a verdict, a problem that demands a solution. And the reason why the Minister of Local Government is coming is because he supervises those units, the LC1 and the LC2. But alongside him will be the Attorney General. Madam Speaker, we have assigned the Attorney General from the Ministry of Justice to come and speak on that matter. But the actual solution will come from all the organs of government, including this August House. As you know, the Electoral Commission needs resources, and I believe their position will also be in that report. Madam Speaker, I want to assure the Honorable Medard Segona and this August House that I have all my 3 eyes open.
So what is the third eye? Honorable members, next item, we'll wait to get a report on that tomorrow, and then we will be able to make a decision based on the report that will be presented. Yes, proceed here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, about 3 times you have directed the Minister for Health, who is in the House, to pay the benefits of the late nurse Peter Baluko, who was burned to ashes in a hospital ambulance on May 11, 2023 in Kichocho Village, Kichocho Parish, Kisamoro Sub-County in Bunyangabo District. Madam Speaker, every time I get to the community, I find the widow with 5 children crying and weeping. And Madam Speaker, you've directed over 3 times for government to ensure that the benefits of this nurse who died on duty be paid. And as I speak right now, Madam Speaker, the deceased left an incomplete house. Her 5 orphan children are out of school. And if it pleases you, Madam Speaker, I want to put the minister on notice that next time I get to the community, I'm gonna drive with the widow and her 5 orphaned sons and daughters, bring them to the minister's office if she can't take action.
Honorable Atkins. We sympathize with the family that they've not got their benefits. But as leaders of this house, land leaders, I expect you people to know how to handle the death and retirement benefits. It's a process. So what you need to do is to advise the family on the procedure that they should go through for them to be able to achieve that money. It's not just a matter of us coming to this house and say, and if I pay. No, there is a procedure that must be followed. So let's be able to advise these people on how to get their money.
Madam Speaker,
It's not about a discussion. Please sit.
Madam Speaker, much obliged.
Sit. So go and advise the widow. Sit. Go and advise the widow. Honorable members, there is something that was mentioned yesterday by leader of opposition, and that was on the regulations and it was also in my communication. And I expect the Minister of Constitutional Affairs, in the absence of his Attorney Generals, to have come with that list. So can we have the list laid on table? Yes.
Madam Speaker, as the government human right gathers itself, you made another instruction yesterday that the Minister of Defense comes to this house to make a statement on their plan to privatize the UPDF. Madam Speaker, may you find it befitting that they make the statement before we go any further, Madam Speaker.
I gave them to Tuesday. It was to Tuesday because, are you ready? No, I gave you to Tuesday.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I was in the House, but I think Honorable Leader of Opposition only wanted me to, he's been missing me for a while. You directed and we are compliant that we come on Tuesday and we shall be ready. Even if we are ready now, we shall wait for Tuesday.
I gave them to Tuesday and they will come here on Tuesday. Can I have the list of all the laws that we have passed with attendant regulations that are operationalizing them? Tell us how many laws were passed, how many have regulations.
Madam Speaker, you guided the Attorney General on the 18th of July to give to this House a statement with the list of acts of parliament assented to and whether regulations have been put in place to operationalize them. The Office of the Attorney General has compiled a chronological index of a total of 280 acts of parliament enacted by this House since January 2010 up to the 17th of July 2023. And Under all the acts of parliament, this House has delegated the power to make subsidiary legislation by way of rules or regulations to a minister, board, or other entity. I now wish to lay the list of acts and subsidiary legislation that are contained in this document on the table. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker.
And out of the 208 acts that were passed, how many have regulations?
Madam Speaker, I have not tabulated that, but they are in 4 categories, which we can tabulate. There are those with regulations. There are those which do not have regulations. There are those which do not require regulations. And then there are acts that were simply repealed. But we will present an annex which can help members then follow the categories that I've named. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker.
Can we agree that all those that need regulations should present the regulations in this House within 2 months, with the exception of the Road Act? Road Act, we had given them 1 month.
Madam Speaker, we undertake to do that, but I would ask you to also amplify through the Prime Minister your directive so that ministers speed up the processing of regulations. We do not initiate the regulations ourselves, Madam Speaker.
The Prime Minister is in the House.
I think it is up to the Prime Minister to then whip the ministers to ensure that these regulations are initiated.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll let the Shadow Attorney General first to speak.
Thank you, Honorable Mao, for giving way. We ordinarily, when making acts, provide for 3 scenarios. There are specific acts where we categorically state that the minister shall make regulations and lay them on the table here. There are then the other acts where we provide that the minister may make regulations. Then there are those acts where we do not even provide for subsidiary legislation form of regulations. Would you be kind enough to notify the House those particular acts where we have directed the minister to make regulations and bring them here, and those acts where we have given the minister the discretion to either make or not make?
Honorable Wagaba, he has the list of 280. He says they have tabulated. It's now our responsibility to forward that to the Committee of Legal to make sure that they find which regulations need, which acts need regulations, which ones say shall, others that say may or without. So we will forward it to our Committee of Legal to do that, and as we receive the regulations. But all the same, even if we are forwarding it to the committee, we still need the regulations in the 2 months. For those ones that are saying whether it is shall or may, we need the regulations.
For the procedure, Right Honorable Speaker, there is a formal way of laying papers. And once papers are laid, the person, the officer laying the papers, must speak to the papers. And I've listened in very well and attentively, Right Honorable Speaker. It would have been the duty of the Honorable Minister for Justice to tell us which exactly, because you directed yesterday, and the import of your direction was, we have passed laws whose regulations we do not know. He has gone ahead to give us from 2010, but the import was which laws have been enacted by this House for which the regulations are not being availed and laid before this Honorable House. And that's where, Right Honorable Speaker, you would have insisted, or if I was Honorable Norbert Mao, I would have come up with at least the list of those where they're still writing regulations and those which have already been written for purposes of speaking to them as he lays it on paper, rather than the bulk that he's saying he's laying before this Honorable House. I thank you.
We asked for all of them and we'll take all of them and wait for what regulation is going to come. Honorable Mao, the 2 month.
Madam Speaker, though I left this house in 2006 and only came back last July, I think I still have institutional memory of how things are done in parliaments. Madam Speaker, what the honorable member expects me to do is to read the entire list. And I think that would go beyond the time you, Madam Speaker, has directed for.
I did not ask you to read, I asked you to lay. That was my instruction. That is the member's instruction.
Madam Speaker, we are obedient at the Ministry of Justice, and I wish to appeal to you to rein in the Honorable Seki Kubo with a title-ish so that he does not attack the Minister of Justice again.
Honorable members, the chair legal, we have this list. I want you to verify whether it is among the acts that have been passed and whether the regulations are there, because they may tell us we have regulations when the regulations are not there. Are you looking after cows in the house or what?
Honorable uses unparliamentary language.
Stop moving around like you're looking after cows. Oh,
Chair.
Please sit.
But Honorable Speaker.
Sit. Sechi. Sechi, go and sit. Go and sit. Eh? Next item.
Most obliged, Right Honorable
That's
Speaker.
how Sechi is.
But Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, we have a lot of work in the order paper.
Item 3.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for your patience and indulgence. Yesterday, while addressing the House, I did remind the government on your right that health workers had given government a notice of 15 days to lay down their tools on account of non-deployment of medical interns and other challenges. It's a full bench with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Health is well represented. Would it please you, Right Honorable Speaker, that the answer to this ultimatum before we plunge into a crisis again and return here like the LC crisis is if the government is in exile, Right Honorable Speaker?
Government that remained pending yesterday.
Honorable Speaker, the issue of interns has been on since April. We have had a number of meetings to address this issue. The Ministry of Health the other day came here and gave a statement. And the government that I know is able will handle this matter. We handle this matter. The only issue we have is lack of money. That's the only issue.
Yes, Honorable.
Right Honorable Speaker, we can hear the Prime Minister informing the country that actually the government shut down.
That's
Is that what she said? No, is that what the Prime Minister said?
Right, Honorable Speaker, for a Prime Minister of the Republic to come and declare that the government has no money and then she sits, there is a warning that doctors are going to have a sit-down strike. Secondly, the same government knew that there will be medical interns in this country. The same government made a budget. We have heard statements here, right, Honorable Speaker. The Prime Minister is aware, as well as I do, that 60% of health workers in these hospitals are actually interns all the time. Their cycle never breaks. Should we regard the Prime Minister as representing the spirit of government by her statement? Right, Honorable Speaker, because that does not really sound like a government. That the government is stuck, and therefore we should all sit and mourn with her. Right, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members.
Can we hear from somebody in charge? That's not a statement of
Honorable
somebody in charge.
members, the person who has spoken is the person in charge. She's the Prime Minister of government of Uganda. And honorable members, we are going to have a stakeholders engagement. We'll have a stakeholders engagement between the Prime Minister's office, Minister of Health. Lobby will be involved. Let's get a solution with the finance. Let's get a solution. You know, at times you can't give what you don't have. Let's get a solution. Let's discuss and see how to handle it. At the end of the day, we shall have to pay. We will have to pay. But let's talk. Let's not just discuss it from there. You can give the background. Let the Prime Minister first give the background.
Right, Honorable Speaker and the colleagues. Government committed to pay interns when the students in the year 2019-2020 were 360. And the president directed that we give them 2.5 million. 2020, 2021, the number of students rose to 600. 2021, 2022, the number of students rose to 900. 2023, 2024, as we speak now, the number of students is 1,903. Against the same budget. And by 2024, 2025, the number of students is projected to rise to 2,600. And so, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I thought I should give you this background so that all of us move in unison. All of us are government. Because we cannot sit here and claim you don't know what we do. We have been moving together, Parliament and government. And so we know that there is this predicament. The number overshoot than the budget we provided. Right Honorable Speaker, some of these students have spent 5 years in college or in the university, and their parents have been supporting them for 5 years. The only year that is remaining now, that where government has been supporting them, is to look after them, give them the necessary requirements, food and accommodation. That's the money we are looking for here. And so let us handle this matter with that background so we move as a team. Thank you so much, Right Honorable.
Honorable members, that's why I'm saying we need a stakeholders meeting so that we know we can decide to reduce from 2.5 to maybe 1 million shillings so that you are able to accommodate everybody. Yes, we can reduce the amount. Honorable members,
Right, Honorable Speaker, we are discussing the lives of our people and our own lives. And I've listened to the Right Honorable Prime Minister making a case for government. But the world should not believe that training doctors is a workshop that was for 1 day or 1 week, for which government was not aware that there was a workshop of 1 week and the number overshot. For 5 years, there was no element of planning that we have these numbers and you have a government pretending over medical education. Honorable Speaker, this is the last time any government officer should come out and tell the world that the number overshot and they were not aware. That's extremely unacceptable. Only the government in Uganda can state that. And let me remind the Prime Minister that payment to intern is a matter of law. It's not a question of magnanimity. That's what the law says. And when you commit as government, you want me to teach you the law? Can I bring out to you the labor laws, the public service regulations for work that is payable ordinarily?
Honorable,
So I want to remind the Prime Minister that her excuses are not tenable, but there's an emergency.
Let me tell you, I have already told you, members. You will speak here. Yes, let me hear from Doctor. Let me hear from a doctor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. Internship means that a medical student, in our case, offering medicine and surgery, or Bachelor of Nursing, and then the Bachelor of Pharmacy, has completed the university education, and he or she has to go through a period of apprenticeship where they are supervised by consultants in order for them to pass and be enabled to practice their profession in Uganda. And it is even optional. You can choose to finish 5 years as a medical doctor and you go away. Now, yes, just hold on. Just hold on. So
No,
the Prime
honorable members, just listen.
What the Prime Minister
Just like you can go for law, you can decide to go for LDC or not.
No, yes.
Yes, you
So,
can't.
it should not be understood that government has no health worker. They are there, but interns definitely help because they do this internship, yes, as they train, but they are also training while managing patients. And it is true that the numbers of medical schools have increased over time. And therefore, the students who require to do internship, the numbers have increased over time. This matter is being discussed within the executive, like the Prime Minister has said. What we call upon our doctors, nurses, and pharmacists is just to be patient as the government mobilizes the resources, and then they will be enabled to start internship. So there is no need for a strike or industrial action. As the Prime Minister has said, government is aware of these numbers and arrangements are being made within the government. So I just wanted to give that.
Thank you.
House. Yes.
Honorable
And
members.
I welcome your suggestion that if it requires a stakeholder meeting, I think it's okay, so that we look into it. But
So that we see how we can handle this thing in a holistic approach. If it means reducing the amount of money, we do. All we need is these people to go through an internship. Honorable members, yesterday we asked for regulations on utilization of the 1 billion shillings that is sent to the districts. The guidelines actually. Guidelines from the Minister of Works. Yes, procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, around 2007, the government of Uganda went to Amuru district with the intention of acquiring land, 20,000 hectares.
How have you smuggled in that?
I don't respect.
How does
Speaker,
it,
this is a very serious issue on the ground, which I really wanted the attention of this House. Honorable Speaker. So, Right Honorable Speaker, when 10,000 hectares were given to the government, the community went to court. Then in the High Court of Gulu, the ruling was against the community. But then again, we came to the Court of Appeal in Kampala. Before the issue was exhausted by the Court of Appeal, the president called for amicable understanding whereby there was a deed of settlement that was signed. And then upon that, in the budget committee in the 10th parliament, money was allocated and the people were compensated. Now, since then up to now, as I talk with you, the Amuru Sugar Works has never started. But what has happened now, there is invasion of people with cows in the area. And because of that, the people who had been compensated, some who had left the place, thought that maybe that was a trick by the government to take their land and give to people who are coming to rear the animals. Now, these people are coming back on the land, which some part of it has been compensated. I don't know, Speaker, my prayer in this case is, number one, we want to request government to first and foremost, make sure that there should be update on the issue of the payment, whether the compensation is complete or not. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, we want this land, if the Ministry of Trade took it for purposes of the sugar factory, then there should be immediate action to make sure the sugar factory should come in place. Otherwise, within 3 months, there is a high possibility if those who occupied the land do not leave the land, then the people are uprising in the area, and that is going to be a great problem. I beg you.
Thank you. Honorable Bahati, Prime Minister will receive a comprehensive response, a written response, and you'll present it in the House next Thursday. I want the regulation, the guidelines. Can I have the guidelines?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I was directed to bring and lay on table.
Honorable members who were not in the House yesterday, there was an issue of the 1 billion shillings that is sent to the constituencies. However, to the districts. However, there is, I don't know, misappropriation or whichever. The way the money is being used is not used in a proper way, not according to the guidelines. And the members of parliament who are supposed to do the oversight role also don't know what is in the guidelines. So please.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to lay on table the guidelines which were generated by my ministry and the utilization of the 1 billion shillings, which is being sent to all the districts, municipalities, and the town councils. In the guideline, just for highlight, the guidelines provides for the work, how to generate the work plans. It provides for the role of the district road committee, to which all members of parliament are members to that district road committee. It provides for monitoring and supervision and how it will be done. And so the guidelines are very, very detailed, and they have all that. And I would want to lay on table a copy of those guidelines to be uploaded on the iPad.
Thank you. I will request the Committee of Infrastructure to scrutinize the guidelines and report to this House.
Right,
You want to understand these guidelines? Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I was also instructed to lay on table the status of update of the procurement of the road road units for the 16 districts. The report
Please.
is here. I beg to lay it on table.
Thank you. And you will need, the Committee of Infrastructure should look at this and report back on Thursday.
Right,
next
Honorable
week.
Speaker, I also want to lay on table the efforts we have made as a ministry and the evidence that we have communicated to the Minister of Finance, the need to buy equipment for the municipalities, town councils, and cities. And also to buy the second set of equipment for the large districts.
Thank you. Still refer to the committee.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable
guidance.
members in the public gallery, we have students and teachers from Good Shepherd Primary School, that is from Nachivovo, Kampala District, represented by Honorable Shamim Malende and Honorable Muhammad Insereko. You're most welcome. Stand up. Welcome, welcome children from Nachivovo. Thank you, please sit down. Next item.
Item 3.
Yes, Christine.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Likewise, like Honorable Speaker, in the ministry, for the Ministry of Energy, we approved 396 billions, and it is indicated that the first quarter cash limit is just 1 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, in the line of discussion that Honorable Minister Katumba has just left, we are perturbed by the limits, given the fact that most of us are looking at standing poles, electric poles, and the need for the people to get connected. to
Honorable, bring that item and we put it on the order paper.
Much obliged.
It's a very important issue. Can we go to the next item?
Item 3. Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee on Equal Opportunities on the state of children's affairs in the country.
Honorable members, a society worth its name must promote the children, protect the children, fulfill their rights, and reject any abuse of these children that are being neglected. And of course, this has happened in Uganda. The Committee of Equal Opportunities is examined this and is ready to report. Can we have a report from the committee?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I salute you. I salute the honorable members of parliament, my colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me first of all to lay the following documents on the table. Number 1, minutes of the committee's proceedings. I have here 7 minutes to lay. A copy of the report that I'm about to present, Right Honorable Speaker. A report of the delegation of Equal Opportunities Committee that went to South Africa for benchmark. Another report for benchmarking in South Africa about the children. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay them. Thank you.
Please lay. Chair,
Right Honorable
please.
Speaker. Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay.
Yes, please lay and make sure that you summarize your report.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Equal Opportunities.
The honorable members of parliament.
Right Honorable, I need your guidance again. I've finished laying my papers. I think I'm proceeding with my report. Yes, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker,
proceed.
The Committee on Equal Opportunities derives its mandate from Article 90 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and it is established by Rule 183 of the Rules of Procedure of this Parliament. It is inter alia mandated with monitoring and promoting measures designed to enhance the equalization of opportunities and improvement in the quality of life and status of all peoples, including marginalized groups, on the basis of gender, age, disability, or any other reason created by history, tradition, or custom for the purpose of redressing imbalances which exist against them. Right Honorable Speaker, I will try as much as possible to make a summary, but giving a background on what we did as the Committee of Equal Opportunities. Right Honorable Speaker, I go to the scope of what we did. First of all, the conceptual scope of the committee was to assess the state of affairs of the children in the country, that is child labor, child abuse, children's rights, child protection, violence against children, teenage pregnancies and marriages, birth registration, access to social services like education, health, shelters, food, and other basic needs, social protection of children, children with disabilities, juvenile justice for children, children in contact with the laws, detention, and rehabilitation, among others, Right Honorable Speaker. The committee visited and held meetings with the following entities, Right Honorable. We went to Kampiringisa Rehabilitation and Detention Center, Naguru Remand Home, Naguru Reception Center, where children are received, Kigangasi Health Center, 2 in Kenya, Lukango Seed Secondary School, and Bukoman Simbi District Action Center. Right Honorable Speaker, the delegation also benchmarked on how children are treated in other countries. We went to Felang Special Needs School and Dominican School for the Deaf in Pretoria, South Africa. We also visited Kabete Remand Center, that is approved school for boys, Compassionate Hands for the Disabled Foundation, Kabete Children Rescue Center, Machakos Girls Rescue Center, and Children's Remand Home, and Directorate of Social Assistance in Nairobi, Kenya. Right Honorable Speaker, in the review of documents, the following are the documents that we reviewed. I'm not seeing anything projected on the screen because the members would just see in summary as I proceed with this, then I don't read the documents that we reviewed in relation to children. But first of all, Right Honorable, the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda was reviewed by this committee on issues concerning children. The Children's Act, situation analysis of children in Uganda by UNICEF, the Births and Deaths Registrations Act, CAP 309, the National Council for Children's Act, CAP 60, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, and Right Honorable, the following key findings or observations and recommendations have been identified for immediate action. First of all, we looked at the existing legal and regulatory framework governing the rights and protection of children. So the following were some of the laws that we also looked at. I'd already talked about the Constitution and the acts, but we also went as far as looking at Domestic Violence Act 2010, the Education Act 2008, CAP 127, the Penal Code Act, CAP 120, Birth and Death Registrations I've already mentioned, and the National Council for Children's Act and others, and also Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act 2009. Right Honorable and members, Uganda is also a signatory to many regional and international instruments on children's matters, which were necessary in promoting the welfare of children, and has gone ahead to ratify the same, and that is our country, Uganda. This includes 1, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Hague Convention on Jurisdiction for Protection of Children, African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, African Children's Charter, the European Convention on the Adoption of Children, Convention on the Rights of the Child, Optional Protocol on the Sale of Children, Child Prostitution, and Child Pornography, Optional Protocol on the involvement of children in armed conflicts. These are, and the East African Community Treaty. Right Honorable, it was very important for the committee to really go through these documents. Now, in Uganda, the Constitution of this country recognizes the rights of the child and specifically provides for children's rights to health, right to education, and right to protection from exploitation under Article 34. The Constitution also states that a child offender who is kept in lawful custody or detention shall be kept separately from adult offenders. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, under Article 34, further provides that, subject to the law enacted in their best interest, children shall have the right to know and be cared for by their parents and those entitled by law to bring them up. So in Uganda, we have the same general human rights as adults and also specific rights that recognize their special needs. Children are neither the property of the parents, nor are they helpless objects of charity. They are human beings and are subject of their own rights. So as we looked at the amendment that was done on Children's Act, we looked at the reform and consolidate the law relating to children, provide for the care, protection, and maintenance of children, provide for the local authority support for children, establish a family and children's court, and provide for children charged with offenses and for other connected purposes. It is pertinent, therefore, to note that the definition of a child is provided under Section 2 of the Children's Act, CAP 59 as amended, to mean a person below the age of 18 years. The Act also, under Section 3, provides for the welfare principle, which is to the effect that whenever the state, a court, a local authority, or any person determines any question with respect to upbringing of the child or the administration of a child's property or application of any income arising from it, the child's welfare shall be of paramount consideration. Therefore, the implication of the above provisions, Right Honorable Speaker, is that the welfare principles is of paramount consideration to children's matters. So when I go to these parameters, like there should be no discrimination against any child. All children have all these rights, no matter who they are, where they live, what language they speak, what their religion is, what they think, what they look like, if they are a boy or a girl, if they have a disability, if they are rich or poor, and no matter who their parents or families are, or what their parents or families believe or do, no child should be treated unfairly for any reason. So, Right Honorable Speaker, there are also these basic necessities that the children have the right to grow up in a peaceful, caring, and secure environment. I think these parameters will give us good preamble for what we looked at, exactly where we found these children, Right Honorable. So looking at the best interest of the child, when adults make decisions, they should think about how their decisions will affect children. All adults should do what is best for children. Government should make sure children are protected and looked after by their parents or by other people when there is need. So government should make sure that people and places responsible for looking after children are doing a good job. Right Honorable Speaker, when we look at life, survival, and development, every child has the right to be alive. Government must make sure that children survive and develop in the best way possible. The name and nationality children must be registered when they are born and given a name which is officially recognized by government. Children must have a nationality, belong to a country. Whenever possible, children should know their parents and be looked after by them. Having a family, a child has the right to know who his or her parents are and to enjoy family life with them or their extended family. Where a child has no family and is unable to live with them, or he or she should have the right to be given the best substitute care available. So, Right Honorable, in respect for children's views, we found that children have the right to express an opinion and to be listened to, and or to be consulted in accordance with his or her understanding in decisions which affect his or her well-being. The right to health, this one we know, they have to be taken care of health-wise. The children with disability, a child with disability should have the same right to be treated with the same dignity as other children and to be given special care, education, and training where necessary so as to develop his or her potential and self-reliance. Protection from harmful practices was also one of the parameters we looked at. A child has the right to refuse to be subjected to harmful initiation rites and other harmful social and customary practices, and to be protected from those customary practices which are prejudicial to a child's health. Right Honorable Speaker, I need to be protected because I'm hearing a lot of murmuring. Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chair, make a summary.
Yes. Now looking at these parameters in summary, protection from violence, access to education, rest, play, culture, and arts, protection from harmful work, protection from sexual abuse, armed conflict, Right Honorable Speaker. As I'm summarizing what I have here, Right Honorable Speaker.
Let's go to
We have some
recommendations. Let's go to recommendations.
Yeah, the committee further noted that, Right Honorable Speaker, that trafficking and monitoring the welfare of Ugandan children who are placed under foster care abroad. I want to, Right Honorable, I would like to make the House understand this very well because there are children who have been adopted and taken abroad and we have information. So, Right Honorable Speaker,
Let her finish. Let her finish.
okay, the committee noted that, Right Honorable Speaker, that despite the strides made by Uganda through ratification of international conventions and enacting corresponding laws meant to improve the well-being of children in this country. More efforts are still required to ensure that all children enjoy their lives. So we noted that trafficking and monitoring the welfare of children who are placed under foster care abroad remains a very big challenge since government has not yet ratified the Hague Convention on Adoption. And we recommend that government should ratify the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption, that is one. And we have also recommended that a Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development should ensure that the laws promoting and protecting children's rights are properly implemented so as to improve the welfare and well-being of children in Uganda. When we went to birth registration, Right Honorable, the committee observed that the National Civil Registration and Vital Statistics System should be strengthened through capacity development and equipping of NERA, district local government and health facilities. NERA should be supported to develop and implement an evidence-based and comprehensive civil registration policy and costed national civil registration and vital statistics strategy plan to access birth certificates. So we have recommended here that government of Uganda should ensure that every child is registered by enforcing the existing laws and Ministry of Internal Affairs should sensitize the community and make it compulsory for every parent to register their children. There are many children outside there who are not yet registered. And NERA should also simplify the birth registration process and reduce complicated registration and certification processes that the parents are complaining about. And government of Uganda should also ensure that Registration of Persons Act, Section 28, is implemented to ensure that birth registration is free. Furthermore, fees under Section 39 should be waived unless it is a replacement for a birth certificate. So those are the recommendations we made under that. Then we went to violence against children, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, listen to the chair. But all in all, since you're telling the chair to summarize.
So, yeah, thank you, Right Honorable.
Chair, when you look at your document that is there, one can make a summary of about 5 points. And when we listen to you keenly, the first issue should be there is need to strengthen the child protection at family level through proper socialization and upbringing. As we all know, the family is the foundation of the nation. The quality of upbringing of your children matters, of our children matters. At a family level, will determine the kind of adult that you're going to be, whether you're going to be an adult like some of us, some of you, some other people are there. Then to the relevant authorities should implement the existing laws. That's what the chair is saying. Should implement the existing laws and abide by relevant international conventions, which Uganda is a party to. 3, in delivering social services, we need to pay attention to the quality of care accorded to the children. Public facilities such as schools, that is where you talk about education, hospitals, that's where you're talking about health, and then the correction centers should ensure safe space for children where it is necessary. Given the rapid expansion of ICT services, there is need to protect the children from harm and unsuitable information. Parents and caregivers must ensure adequate information to safeguard the children and minors. Government should also integrate relevant reporting frameworks for children. That is like Minister for Children. I can see the Minister of Children there. We need the reporting guidelines to be in government and implementation on the policies of government. Basically, that's the summary that. Isn't that a summary that you need out of the chair? Chair, is there anything you want to add?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Right Honorable. I have also reports of our visit to Camp Piringisa, which is the only juvenile prison in this country. And I also need to make this house know that they are in a very bad state, the children who are there. Can I proceed to make this report? There's also, Right Honorable.
Is it part of
yes, it's
the
part
motion?
of, yes, part of the report for the children. They are really in bad
Let's
shape.
upload and Minister of Children. Minister, Honorable Minister, you need to make a follow-up, get this report. Let's upload this report and a close follow-up is made on this report. And we need actions that you've taken on the report. Yes, Madam.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I just would like the chair to clarify on, is it Capping Greece being the only, okay, that one. Being the only juvenile prison, how do we call those other ones? Like, for example, we have one in Gulu with even more than, yes, even Mbale, with even that one of Gulu more than 150 juveniles. How do we call them? Are they not for juvenile prisons? Thank you.
Honorable Minister of Children.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to inform my colleagues that we do not have prisons for children. We have one rehabilitation center, which is Camp Piringisa, the National Rehabilitation Center. Then other places where you're calling Gulu, they are remand centers or remand homes. And these are not prisoners. These are children who are in contact with the law. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madam Minister. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. For purposes of clarity, a person is taken to a remand home when they are still facing charges in court and they have not been convicted or sentenced. So that's why they are kept in those remand homes. For Camp Piringisa, it is a center where they are kept when the entire case has been dealt with and they have been sentenced. So I wanted to give that for clarity. Much obliged. So it's the equivalent of a prison for children, Camp Piringisa.
Let's see. Rehabilitation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lucy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take it that we are now debating. Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I wanted to comment about Camp Piringisa because in the last parliament, when we were there in the gender committee, we visited. But Madam Speaker, I wanted to bring out the issue of some of the projects which are there, including the green jobs. And part of that was supposed to help our young people in their rehabilitation. However, it is not being effected. Then, Madam Speaker, I wanted to talk about the environment that the chair talked about. For example, the court environment. There is a study, a report that I was reading that most of these juvenile offenders find it difficult to actually fit in the environment. What used to be the safe environment has now been turned into a waiting room, but not an environment where they are protected as they go to court. And then also the issue of age. Age is a big problem, and that is why most of the police officers will just estimate and say this child is this age, and most times the children find themselves with adults. Finally, when it comes to care and service, Madam Speaker, I want to bring in the component of the mothers who are convicted and give birth in prison, and they end up with these children there. And the kind of environments that are in these prisons are not very, very good for these children. I want to give an example, and I want to really thank Sister Rosemary, who is a CNN heroine. In Gulu, this was a big problem. What Sister did was to create a creche in their facility. So every morning, the mothers would take their children to this creche and then pick them up in the evenings, so that the children have a better environment, not mixed up with adults, and they would even they would even provide milk for these children. So the question I ask myself is, especially to the Minister of for Children and Youth, whether now the conditions in our prisons have improved such that mothers are able to actually take care of their children, breastfeeding mothers, I'm talking of breastfeeding mothers, those who give birth in prison, have an environment. It may not be so comfortable, but at least an environment where a child is able to attend to, a creche kind of program, and then grow up to maybe 2 years and then can be removed from prison. That is the issue I thought I needed to bring. Thank you so much, Chair of our Equal Opportunities Committee.
Thank you. Noro?
Thank you so much, Madam.
We are debating, but I am limiting to 10 people.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Members, can I? Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Madam Speaker, who is on the floor?
Chair, can you
Chair,
sit?
on the floor, please. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I want to commend the chair, but I have a few comments to make. From the list of the places that they visited, I noticed that it's schools that she called special schools, and we choose not to call them special schools, they're segregated schools. But also the laws that she referred to, both international and national, both encourage inclusion of children with disabilities. Now, from her reading, I have a sense that they actually visited schools that are not inclusive, but also institutions. Now, all these laws discourage exclusion in schools. They also exclude institutionalization of children with disabilities. I am not very sure whether we have good recommendations regarding children with disabilities, but what I want to say is that the laws that we have passed in this country.
What is your amendment on the recommendation?
My amendment on in the recommendations is that we should focus on inclusion of children with disabilities in schools. We don't need to build any special schools. What we need to do is to include children with disabilities in the mainstream schools. And also the minister in charge of children should, as much as possible, make sure that we do not have institutionalization. If you go to Rweza, to Chireka, and you see the state of children with disabilities, they don't even have toilets. The government must.
Would that be different from non-discrimination of children in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of all those kind of things?
That would be discrimination if you get a deaf child and create a deaf school, because you're not going to create a deaf university, you're not going to create a deaf college. So what we are saying is bring a deaf child in a school of other children and provide a sign language interpreter. Bring a blind child in Kampala parents and provide Braille for that child to learn with other students. This is what we are talking about. And instead of institutionalizing the children, support the mothers to be able to take care of those children who have severe disabilities. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. There's information. Who has information?
I just want to give information that actually Uganda SS is one of those schools that has actually incorporated, because the girls, actually it's called, most people think it's Uganda Girls, but it is not Uganda Girls. It's because we have inclusion of blind boys in that school. So I thought I needed to give this example and information. Thank you.
Thank you. Hilary?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
I am giving people who are making maiden speeches. After Hilary, I will go to Connie.
Right Honorable Speaker, I happen to represent the people of Maokota, where Kampilingisa Rehabilitation Center is located. Right Honorable Speaker, this is one of the centers we take and regard as rehabilitation centers for our children. But the state of this rehabilitation center is really alarming. And it is at this point that I want to ask government whether it is still has the capacity to take care of these centers, or they are just there for formality and just in the name. Because when you talk about a rehabilitation center, this is a center where we expect to change lives of people going astray, the children going astray, to be recollected and brought back on form. But when you go there, right from the facilities, Right Honorable Speaker, let's talk about the fence. The center is in a village. It has no fence, but people take there their children, and children just loiter around the whole village. We talk about the healthy facility, Right Honorable Speaker. I reported Kampilingisa healthy facility got unroofed, and government up to now has never gone to put back the roof. And this is a center where we have our children, but right from health, they have no hospital, they have no healthy facilities. So, Right Honorable Speaker, the state of Kampilingisa is alarming, and it is at this juncture that I would like government to come out clearly and state if they are in capacity to take on Kampilingisa, because we are sending our children to hell than the heaven that we thought it would be.
Thank you.
I beg to submit.
Honorable Minister, I hope you're taking note of the issues that are being raised, Connie.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank Chair for the presentation. However, I just noted a few things. Right Honorable Speaker, if I can look back at the remand homes, there is a remand home in Mbale. And when I visited that remand home, Right Honorable Speaker, it was in an appalling situation. And we had to contribute for food. And then there was also an NGO which brought some mattresses and blankets, because all that had been there had really were worn out. When you look at these children, Right Honorable Speaker, they are in tattered uniforms, tattered, they are torn. And these are juvenile. Some of these girls are really growing, and you see their breasts out. It's quite appalling. I would really call upon government to look at these institutions and support the children. Much as they are in these centers, they need a decent life, like it has been ably been put. If we neglect them, we'll be throwing them out to the dogs. Right Honorable Speaker, I have an observation I've made. While we move from our homes, in the jam, we find quite many children coming to beg on the streets. I don't know as a country what solution we'll have for these children. And these children come to beg, and their parents are right at the sides watching. When they're given anything, they run to give it to the parents. Can something be done so that we really have people travel safe because they really destabilize the people who are moving. And it's very bad looking at a child coming to beg. And there was some time when we said that when anybody who gives any money will be liable to, I think maybe they'll be sued. So I don't know what solution we have to this, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you.
It takes us back to parenting, how we leave our children and they end up in the streets. Helen, Margaret.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the chairperson for the report. I want to seek clarification from the minister. Right Honorable Speaker, on top of the dilapidated structures at Kampirinsa and other detention centers, we were informed that in this
Actually, the detention center should be renamed to correction and rehabilitation centers, because those centers are basically for correction and rehabilitation.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, that in those rehabilitation centers, they do not have food, that they rely entirely on Office of the Prime Minister. They go begging part of the relief food to feed those children in those rehabilitation centers. Can the minister clarify on that? We are informed that they do not have money for that purpose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate the committee for the report. I am the chairperson, Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children. And when we are discussing issues concerning children, I'm equally concerned. Right Honorable Speaker.
No, you're equally concerned as a mother.
Not only as a mother, but as the chairperson of the forum that is in charge of children across the country.
Now, when I ask the leadership of Children Forum, that how many of these rehabilitation centers have you visited and supported? How many times have you lobbied as members of parliament that today let's go to Naguru Rehabilitation Home and we support them? We must be seen to work for the others. When we talk about children, let's talk about children as our people, our children. Now, next time as a chair, mobilize us. Where they are saying they need support, corporate social responsibility as a Parliament of Uganda.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for that good guidance. I have two concerns. The first concern, we came up with the National Children's Authority. This authority was supposed to oversee issues of children in this country. But as I speak now, the staff are in place, but there is no funding, no budget for the authority. So it's like we've left children to whoever it should do, to whoever is concerned. And then secondly, if we want to have a stronger foundation of our country, good citizens.
The National Children's Authority, an act of parliament?
Yes.
And there is no
funding, it's not function.
It's not functional. Yes.
So when the authority is not given money and it's not functional, Right Honorable Speaker, then children, it's like they are left to whoever is concerned. And also secondly, when we want a strong family, we want a good citizen, then we must also invest deliberately in the foundation of that person. We are talking of having here good policies like the early childhood guideline or policy, but we have no budget. So if we cannot invest deliberately in the background or in the foundation of our children, then what kind of person shall we be raising? So if we can be here and budget for prisons instead of budgeting for re-education, then we shall raise up mediocre children who will have no future and they will end up in these prisons. So I want to call upon this house that we should deliberately put money in early childhood so that we can raise responsible leaders. So, Right Honorable Speaker, like you've said, we should mobilize ourselves. We are beginning now. It is our duty in the coming budget. Let us do something so that we can have money in the budget specifically for the children of this country. Thank you.
Just a clarification. Where do we put the money for the children of the country? I just want.
We have the minister in charge of children and gender. She was like, now we are talking of Campingisa and remand homes. She was given it.
First of all, before we take the children to those remand homes, what is our core role first? What should we do first to avoid these other issues? What should we do?
Right, Honorable Speaker. Parenting is
Honorable members, the first thing that we should ever think of before we think of remand homes is parenting. Let's advocate for better parenting of these children. And once you have good parenting, once you have a family that brings children well, then you will not need these remand homes. Huh? Yes, Nakawa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, education is a fundamental human right, but also resting and playing is one. Right Honorable Speaker, there is a growing tendency of schools extending study time beyond the normal time. Children below the age of 4 wake up early in the morning. Recently, I told Parliament of an instance that happened around Queensway, where 3 kids were on the border, and the one at the back slept off and fell down. A speeding car knocked and crushed him dead. Right Honorable Speaker, this Parliament recently told the Minister in charge of Education to make a statement to that effect. Up to now, it's almost 4 months, never. The committee did not interrogate the time students, kids wake up. They need time to rest like we do rest, but this never happens. You know, and I don't know whether basically learning in class is the only option we have for to grow up a child. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee did not also interrogate the matter of juvenile cells. We have police stations, they arrest juveniles, but they have nowhere to keep them. They end up keeping them with adults, and eventually they get even more, you know, endangered. So it's important for this report to capture that. But I also want to inform that we have different disabilities. We cannot have schools with all categories of children. We have these that cannot even study, cannot learn with others. Yes, those with
let him give his submission.
My concern is that we have no schools.
He's a disability like you.
Yes.
Yes.
We have no schools for free education for people with disability. Education for people with disability is very, very expensive. And when you add on the aids that we use, they are quite expensive. Therefore, we should request government to make sure that, in fact, Parliament, to make sure that we remove taxes on supportive devices for people with a disability, so that we can be able to compete favorably with others. I have an artificial.
There is an exception on that.
Not
It's
all of
an
them.
exempt. They don't pay taxes on.
Not all of them, right, Honorable.
Information
for
from
example,
the minister. Information from the minister.
Information accepted.
Yeah, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I just wanted to give my fellow disabled person who is acting as a disabled because he got an accident.
Order, Right Honorable
But
Speaker.
Honorable members.
Thank you.
Order.
Now I am coming to
Right
the point.
Honorable Speaker, order.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Nakawa, Ronald, there is being born a disabled, and then acquiring disability. For her, she's born disabled. Now for you, you got disabled out of an accident. That's what she's meaning. But you're disabled.
Yeah, Right Honorable Speaker, you have really put it right. No, it is right, and it also informs us in the House that anytime we can be candidates.
Any of us can be disabled.
Yes, so what I wanted to inform Honorable is that on the issue of exemption, government of Uganda has exempted, but the issue is availability. For example, if you have the Braille papers for the blind, there's no shop in Uganda which sells them. We have to import. And I think it's only the Minister of Education which tries to import. And then secondly, they agree with you that they are very expensive. And again, as government, we are trying to see how do we get in the wheelchairs, which are affordable through Minister of Health to get orthopedic apparatus. And then on the education, why we are promoting inclusion, we are saying there will be an annex for those children to get what they call special instruction, but come back and learn in the main school. We realize that when it comes to job opportunities, if I appear before the Right Honorable Speaker for the first time as a disabled, she has never seen one in her school where she came from. She will ask, I think you cannot manage. So you have failed at the time you come. But if I have OBs and OGs who know that Asamo was in school, she was doing this, I will have a correct way of moving away. So when you put us in special, we look like people in the zoo. And the time you appear before the public, everybody is shocked to see you. And the first question they'll ask you, we did not know that you are like this, sorry. So you are even fired before you are hired. So I think we are bringing inclusion, but encourage the Minister of Education to put annex for special what? Instructions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Thank you for the information. I am concluding. Right Honorable Speaker, some of us that got a disability when we are aged, we even suffer more than those that have gotten used with the disability.
The way I see you people going out as the house closed.
Right Honorable, I thank you for taking the matter of school-going children to go and study in the normal studying hours. That is critical, and I conclude with emphasizing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Adome.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. First of all, I want to thank the committee for the report. However, I somehow disagree because I believe the areas that were meant to inform us in terms of recommendations were not captured in this report. I'm saying this because Karamoja region is one of the most marginalized areas and ranks highest in some of these concerns that we're raising in regard to the welfare of the children. It is very clear that 80% of the children on the streets come from Karamoja sub-region. So it would have been very important for the committee to go to Karamoja so that they could be able to understand why exactly these children end up on the streets. Because that is an issue as government that we've tried to address, but we have not come to the bottom. This report should have given us that information so that we're able to come up with recommendations that can address this matter for future planning. So I feel the report is incomplete. If it's prudent for the committee to also involve or include some of the information from that site, given the fact that Karamoja sub-region still stands a risk of this kind of challenges that we've been discussing. So I want to implore the committee that in future, if you to deal with issues in regard to children, we should be able to focus mainly on areas that rank highest in that respect. So I want to thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
and Honorable Baka.
I would like to thank the committee for the powerful report for the state of our children affairs. However, Right Honorable Speaker, there is one point that was noted. In 2016, 2017, there was massive child registration. But up to now, you don't see the real impact of this child registration. And most of the names.
How do you expect to get the impact? How do you feel the impact or measure the impact?
Most of the results that came out of that massive child registration, they were invalid, giving different reasons. Either fingernails were not captured. So fingerprints, it's fingerprints were not captured, and several reasons were given. Then the other last issue, the other last concern, I am from Busoga region, and there is a big problem of child marriages. I would like to implore the committee on equal opportunities to do massive sensitization, because you've outlined most of the laws about children, but most of our people are ignorant about the law. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, I want us to differentiate between the birth registration and then the NIN enrollment registration for learners. What Brenda is talking about is the NIN registration for learners that was done at schools. That's where you needed the, what did you say? A fingernail. That's where you needed fingerprints. You didn't need the fingernails, you needed the fingerprints. That was the NIN registration for learners. But the birth registration is different from that. Honorable Baka.
Thanks very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to join my colleagues by thanking the chairperson. I'm looking at that report giving us the overview of the situation of our children within the country and outside where we visited, particularly South Africa. Honorable Speaker, I used the opportunity when I was a minister to tour some areas in South Africa. In fact, in South Africa, they call them rehabilitation centers, and they put them in different categories of age. I hope you learned some lessons that you can bring here. The way they are being handled, apart from feeding, which of course is good, they bring some personnel of different topics. They talk to them, they teach them something. They even show them how they should be as good citizens. When I visited another rehabilitation center of a bit of older children, is where I found majority of the Ugandans. And I was expecting even the chairperson from that tour that you saw some Ugandans in those rehabilitation centers. And the majority of them were from Wandegeya. Yes. And they were all doing one job, witch doctors. In fact, when I wanted to get more information, they requested me to tell them soon that I meet them alone and we talk Uganda. And that's what we did. So they told me how they came to make money, how they're mixing soil and herbs and confusing the South Africans, particularly those who are suffering from impotence and what have you. And they were doing business. But the learning lesson I wanted you to give us is the way they are being handled and how they change their mindset to go back and be good citizens. So that's why my colleague of Karamoja was saying, I wish the good ideas we had got from South Africa, you bring them and we see how we can use it to handle our children in Uganda. Information.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. The clarification I wanted to seek from the minister is what the Honorable Bakabulinde is talking about. Is impotence a disability? And do you qualify, for example, to participate in an election, in an activity for the people with disabilities when you are impotent? That's the clarification.
Honorable members,
I've got another information.
honorable
here.
members, Honorable Silwani, don't bring your being vulgar in the house. Honorable, are you done, Sijan?
I'm done. Speak. Thanks very
Honorable
much, sir.
Sijan?
You're giving me information before I even begin talking. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My exception is with regard to whether or not these are rehabilitation centers or prisons. I think what we are faced with is a question of semantics and nomenclature. While we would like to call them rehabilitation centers, even the minister lacks statistical data on the percentage or numbers of children who have been to Kampiringsa and have come out as success stories. So when I made an inquiry, I was informed that there was one child who came out and became a bishop. Of course, without information of the denomination where this child was a bishop. We interacted with the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Right Honorable Speaker. And we asked them about the population of, for example, street children in Kampala, and they did not know. They did not know, and they said it was impossible to find out the actual number of street children in Kampala. It was a public accounts committee. The Ministry of Gender did not have this information, and they confessed and admitted that it is not possible for them to find out. But other cities, Right Honorable Speaker, know the population of street children on their streets. And that information is readily available. Nairobi has 60,000. International Needs UK approximate the number in Kampala to 15,000 children. But our own government, our own ministry does not know. So there is no evidence, Right Honorable Speaker, that the children who have gone through these, what we would like to call rehabilitation centers, are actually rehabilitated and become more productive citizens. So I think that what the report should have brought out is statistical data backed with evidence of whether we have a functional mechanism, a proven functional mechanism that shows improvement in the lives of the children. I thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you. Emmanuel?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the committee for their report, but what I noticed, and that has been followed by the discussion which is taking place, is that we are looking at the reformatory element. We are not looking at something that is positive for the children. Even in the report, clearly they have stated the places they visited, and you hear it's mainly the reformatory places where children are taken. But in this country, Madam Speaker, there are organizations, international organizations, that are doing great job for our children, for our communities. For instance, you have Plan International, you have Save the Children, you have Child Fund. These organizations are doing great jobs out there. I thought they would balance up, apart from going to these reformatory centers, they would have also gone to these organizations and they would have seen what those organizations are doing. And I want to believe that if they saw, probably from there, they would have made recommendations like we have been hearing here. People are talking about schools. My sister from told us how we could help these children before they go into problems. They are taken through a process where they learn and they are okay. I'm giving one example. You go to communities where Plan International is working and how they are dealing with the issues of child-centered development. and early childhood education, and how they are managing the transition of these children from the early childhood centers into the primary schools. You will be surprised to see what is happening. I worked in Luwero, and in Luwero, Madam Speaker, what happened was that we followed up the children who came from the early childhood care centers and transited properly to the primary schools. Some of them are now in secondary. Majority of them are disciplined children. They are bright, they are doing very well. And I would like to imagine if we had such examples, we would have known.
Honorable members, let's be brief. Many people want to speak. We are now on storytelling. Yes. Jennifer.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to join the colleagues to thank the committee for the report. And I want to focus on the issue that the committee raised concerning the teenage pregnancy and child marriage, where they highlighted that in 2022, between the month of March and September, there was an increase of 366% increase in pregnancies among the girl children aged 10 to 14. I think this is something to worry about. And as a country, we need to think of a way forward. Right Honorable, in a constituency where I come from, you can find a number of children moving to school, but end on the way. And then we have a number of children who are selling oranges on the road, that Lira Sorority Highway, from morning up to around 10 in the night. Some people even at around midnight, you can find them on the way with those trailer guys. I think, Right Honorable Speaker, there is need for ministry to work hand in hand with the local government and come up with maybe an ordinance or bylaws that will help us actually to work on this issue of child marriage. I thank you. That's the point I wanted to raise. There's a need for ordinance and bylaws.
Actually, most of these children are within our villages. And if we cannot regulate these children from being in the streets, from selling oranges and whichever, and then if you don't, you need to have a regulation, an ordinance that when you get a parent who is negligent enough to leave children to do that, then you handle, you cane that parent. I wish Honorable Chair was here. Honorable Chair is good at caning. Yes. Those parents must be put to order. You cannot just produce children and you don't take care of these children. You can't, honorable members, let me give somebody to speak who doesn't have a kid. Daudi. No, he's a kid himself. He's a young boy. He's a young boy.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Fortunately, Honorable Shamim Marende also doesn't have a kid, so we can connect very well.
You can connect well.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for this report. First of all, government and this parliament needs to investigate where these kids that we take to Kampiringisa come from. Every day, government picks kids from these streets. The following morning, you find when the streets are full again. There is a night, it was around 2 a.m., around in Tinda. I was driving from Mubende, and I found a vehicle, a very big truck, offloading kids. They left them there.
the government must know that this is a business. When you give these kids money on the street, there is somebody there who is waiting to receive this money from that kid. It is a business. Before we talk about these kids who are being traumatized, the government not looking after them, there are some people who are benefiting from this business. And the MPs from Karamoja, I understand they know this issue very well. Yes, they know this issue. Because before you complain about camping, sir, before you complain about
time, you are the time.
Before, thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Before we complain about camping, because does the government of Uganda know where the kids that they are, those that, no, not on the street, those that are in camping, where do they come from? Because every day on the streets of Kampala, there are a number of kids. As Parliament, Right Honorable Speaker, we must investigate the source of these kids. I beg to submit.
And maybe we also need to understand what is the reason why these kids are in the street. Is it because they don't have homes? Don't they have where they come from? And if you know they come from Karamoja, or if they come from Teso, why don't you take them back to Teso and look for the for the parents? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister, wait, let him speak, and then Dr. Bed, then I come.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Hey, Kelly.
Right Honorable Speaker, indeed we need rehabilitation centers per sub-region. Why am I saying so? In our villages there, we have many children without their parents.
Let me tell you before.
They end up.
Before you go ahead, when you say you need a rehabilitation center per sub-region, then you're encouraging negligence on the parents. Actually, we should not have rehabilitation centers.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm not encouraging, but there are many children in this country without parents. And in my village, even my home, I have 4 children I'm catering for because they have no their parents. But when you reach in my village, that is in Nakasongola district, there are many safety cases. Wait, I will give you to clarify. Wait.
Honorable members, we need rehabilitation centers where it is necessary, not out of negligence of parents and out of poor parenting. This business of people just producing children and throwing there must be discouraged. Because you're going to have rehabilitation centers, for you, you just dump there your children, your workers.
Right Honorable Speaker, some children, I'm talking especially on those ones at my home, they lost their parents. And
let me tell you, honorable members, so many of us are orphans. We have no parents, but we are not in the rehabilitation center. Me, I'm a total orphan. Obua here is a total orphan. Everybody, I mean, we are not in a rehabilitation center.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable.
I'm still on the floor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the right to identity is part of the rights of children. A child must have a right to a name. A child must have a right to family. In Uganda, we have so many men who are absconding their responsibility to their children by simply looking at their morphology. They look at the nose, they look at the shade of the skin, and they abandon these children. Right, Honorable Speaker. And this one has alienated our children from their families, from their homes. Right now, Right Honorable Speaker, we have the surge of DNA testing in this country. And the most affected group are the children. You grow up with a parent, 5, 10 years, and someone goes to a DNA test and he abandons you. He said, you are not a child. You are not a child. Right Honorable Speaker, there are also women, I will give you, there are also ladies in this country who simply assign fatherhood to looking from a catalog of men in their boxes. Right Honorable Speaker, is it not time that in this country we think about mandatory DNA testing at birth, so that you leave the labor ward when a child is sure of the father of that child? Is it not yet time? Information.
Thank you so much,
Honorable members.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Kelly, Kela Uma.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I am now coming this side. Let me have Kelly, Namuli, then I come to Giovanni's.
I want to thank the chairperson for the presentation she has made. Right Honorable Speaker, we have a serious issue in this country concerning children. When you go back to our villages, we know all of us come from our own villages. You see children are in the trading centers from morning to night hours, and yet they have their parents, both girls and boys. This comes as a result of poor parenting, that our parents are leaving children. Parents are also doing their own thing, children are also on their own world. Now, when we go back to the villages, we need to emphasize on this as leaders of this country. What kind of children are we upbringing? What kind of future does Uganda have?
Information.
Honorable members, it takes you back to what Jennifer was saying. As leaders, you should be able to make sure that we have bylaws up to the low grassroots, where local government, where irresponsible parents are held accountable for what their actions for their children not being at school, their children being in the streets. And then we also have to hold those fathers that he's talking about. Those fathers who just abandon children, dump here, there, left, right. Mothers never dump their children. These fathers must be held accountable. By the time you produce, you know you need it.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Helen, Kelly, you finished?
Not yet. Let me conclude.
I am giving people who have not spoken.
Yeah.
Oma, Helen, you talk. I mean, Kelly.
Right Honorable Speaker, as I was just concluding, we have children in the villages who are taking drugs. A child of 5 years, 10 years is taking alcohol in the trading center, and yet we have LC1s, we have parents who are also taking alcohol with such children.
We no longer have LOC1s. Honorable members, And what happens in the traditional world, parenting is not a role of only father and mother. For everybody, people should get responsible. Why don't we first hear from the minister so that maybe she will have answered the number? Helen, you speak, Helen, then we first hear from the minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. In addition to what you said, Madam Speaker, some of the men who produce children and they don't take care of them are in this house. Yes. I know some and I can bring
honorable members. There is an order. Honorable members.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Can you pay attention? Honorable members, don't go that way because I know them.
Name them. Name them.
I am a custodian of all the information in this place.
Them.
I know them. Don't say that they are not there. They are there. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for your support. First of all, Madam Speaker, when the report talked about juvenile, the report talked about juvenile cells, and like Honorable Balimwezo said, some places don't have juvenile cells, and these children are put in the same cells with adults. However, when you come to island districts, these probation officers have to transport children from, for example, Kalangala, Buvuma, to Naguru and Kampiringisa. This is very costly for them, yet they are not funded very well. So I think to the committee chairperson, I would request you add that recommendation that, yes. And also, Madam Speaker, when we talked about local councils, the people in charge of children affairs are the secretaries for children affairs. That is the deputy chairperson over at village. This, I think, brings us back to wanting to elect these people into those positions again, and we make them legal such that they help us with this issue of parenting. Then finally, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We are going to have elections. It's not anything for negotiation. We will have elections. We're in a country. Agnes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Which Agnes?
I want Agnes Achibu.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Ali, thank you for that report. I have one concern. First of all, when we are talking about the street children and the juveniles, I think they have spread all over the country, Uganda. But my concern is one. We are talking
not all over the country, the street children.
Nebi, though it is not
it is not in my village.
Okay, in Nebi, they are there. My concern is about these rehabilitation and correction centers. When we take these children there, I think they should be convinced that it is true where they are being taken is a rehabilitation and correction center. We have heard from what the chairperson read that these places are in appalling states. So it is my prayer that the Ministry of Finance gives more money to Ministry of Gender so that these places, when the juveniles are taken there, they are at peace. And also we have enough counselors to handle these people who are taken there, especially the juveniles. Thank you.
You know, we are now repeating same thing, same thing, same thing. So can we, no. Let me hear from Faith.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for catching for me catching your eye, and I'm very happy. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the chairperson of the committee for the report. But one of the things that I realized from the report is that there is no clarity as whether they interacted with the children themselves and had time to listen from the children. If you go to these centers and you don't listen to the children and you don't show us what the children themselves are sharing with you, then for me, I would so much regard the report. My second issue, Madam Chair, goes to the Madam Speaker, goes to the Minister. The Minister of Gender through the Probation Office is very good at placing their children in different places, but very poor at follow-up and supporting the children they place in different facilities, such as the children's homes and the facilities they've just mentioned. And I think that the Minister of Gender really needs to come out very clearly. Either they close and stop their work, or they facilitate the process of placing a child, following a child, and facilitating the child. My third issue, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, is that the Minister of Gender knows very well the rights of the child. They are good, this chair was very good at giving us the rights of the child in the whole document, but at the same time, the right to eat, the right to sleep well, the right to education is not very well stipulated and handled by the Minister of Gender. My last issue is whether, as we all argue about whether these are rehabilitation centers or they are remand homes or they are cells for children. Madam Speaker, the situation in these places warrants us to call them cells and jails. It doesn't warrant us to call them rehabilitation centers because of the way the children are treated, what is happening, their ability to play, their ability to sleep well, their ability to be rehabilitated. And the minister needs to come out clearly whether these are juvenile cells or.
Thank you. Kevin. Giovannis.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also want to join colleagues and the chairperson for the report. I want to say that the whole thing goes back to parenting. I belong to the Committee of Gender, and we moved across the districts, and we personally spoke to these children, asked them, these children who are in these centers, we asked them why, what happened. And the story was, my grandmother, my father raped me. The whole thing was mistreatment. That's why most of them are in the streets.
Information.
So I want to say that let us strengthen, let us form these bylaws, and we see where the problem will come from. Long time ago, we used to hear that children could not leave homes in the evenings, but Right Honorable Speaker, these days, we can hardly handle or have a function in the village. The whole home will be packed with children. Parents have abandoned the children. Children move at any time, come back home at any time of the night. So the whole issue has to go back to parenting. I want to thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you. There's a procedural matter. Honorable members, the issue of parenting. When we're growing up, as Kevin is saying, you don't move in the evening. Now, if you pass in the streets of Kampala and you pass, is it Speak? You get those young girls. Then you wonder, where are they coming from? It still goes back to parenting. We need to take our role as parents. Make sure that the upbringing is good. We wouldn't have these street children in the streets of Kampala. And let's not forget what Honorable Kabanda was talking. What is the procedural matter?
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I've got two procedural issues. One, it's originating from why children are living homes. And the chairperson of the committee talked about some of the children's rights and the harsh.
What is the procedure matter? Do you just want to submit or you're raising a procedure?
Procedure, I will listen to all members. And from the submissions they are making, they are coming back to the same submission is already made. So procedurally, could the minister move and make responses?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, the law is Hillary. Honorable Minister.
Yes.
Just be brief.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Issues to do with children are cross-cutting. And I will not say that it is only Ministry of Gender that is responsible for these children. We all have a stake in looking after these children. Right Honorable Speaker, it all comes to one thing, that we go back to parenting and valuing our families. If this is done, to assure you, we shall empty all these remand homes. We shall empty all the streets, not only the streets of Kampala, but all the streets in all the trading centers. Madam Speaker, I will answer some of the things that were mentioned in brief on the issues of dilapidated structures, on the issue of not having food. Right Honorable Speaker, the budget that we have does not allow us to do any developments. We are only given money for food, and from this money of the food is the same money that we use to transport these children to court, and in case court session has not taken place, we still bring them back. The whole financial year, we are given 640 million. That means every quarter, we have to spend 160 million to feed these children, to transport them to court and back. And to make it, I want to explain the number of remand homes that most of you are asking. You want remand homes. I don't think that is a solution. We have a Naguru reception center. For those, I'm just giving information so that members can know. We have Guru remand home. We have Arua remand home. We have Mbale remand home, Gulu remand home, Port Poto remand home, Masindi remand home, Kabale remand home, and Kampirinjisa National Rehabilitation Center. I'll give you the clarification. You hold on. We have 9 remand homes and 1 national rehabilitation center. And we have 1 which is under construction in Moroto, which is not yet complete, but it is being constructed. Why my sister Connie, Honorable Connie, was raising the issue of Mbale being congested, having no food, it's because of the budget constraints, which you all know, because we are the ones who do what? Who pass the budget. And Mbale serves the whole region in eastern Uganda. Originally, when they were building Mbale remand home, they hoped that it would serve a number of around 60 inmates. But as we speak now, you'll find that we have more than 200 children in these homes. But we believe that after we have completed Moroto, the congestion will reduce. Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of child marriages, teenage pregnancy, this is something that we sugarcoat. This is defilement. But where are these men who are doing this? And surprisingly, I don't know whether you expect Ministry of Gender to go and look and search for these men who are doing this. If the parents do not come out, if the girls do not go to report, surprisingly, even those who go to report, there is a way the system just plays around it, and we find when the cases die along the way.
Actually, you find most of the defilements, the rape, they settle it locally.
So it becomes very tough, right, Honorable Speaker, for us to continue. There are times somebody comes to your office, he's crying, my daughter, this has happened. And surprisingly, what hurts me most when I find a father defiling a daughter. Then the mother comes and tells you, I am a housewife. If I report this man, they are going to chase me. I still have my children, but he's sleeping on my daughter. I need survival. It gets tough for some of us. So it all comes to one thing, parenting and valuing our families. Right Honorable Speaker, you asked a question, why these street children keep coming to the street. Makerere University made a study in Karamoja, and there were very interesting findings. One, of course, the peer influence. You can't leave it behind. Right Honorable Speaker, the parents still have a very big role to play in sending these children on the streets. The third issue was husbands, especially those from Karamoja. Their wives to come and look for money. You have seen even the women. Haven't you seen women on the streets? They come with their children on the street to collect money, and every month, this woman has to go and report money back home. The next was the issue of food and hunger. Of course, we have people who are selling these people, who are trafficking these people. I remember last year we arrested around 8 women who were doing this, but when they reached in court, the charge was changed, and I went to hear that the women are already out and moving. So at times it gets tough for us. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of poverty, we cannot leave it behind. And it's not only in Karamoja, it is everywhere. And we have to get a way of addressing this issue, because it makes our children go back to the streets, make our children drop out of school. Right Honorable Speaker, it is very true. We have 165 children's homes in Uganda, and most of them are owned by private owners, private people. And at times, it gets tough for us, especially when mothers die giving birth, or at times the children are abandoned. We end up requesting that the probation officers help us and trace where we can place these children. So most times we take them to these children's homes as we are trying to trace their families, especially for those who are neglected. Right Honorable Speaker, if you look at the budget of the probation officers, it is very little money. I think every quarter, if not every quarter, they get less than 200,000. 200,000 probation officers in every district. We have at least 2 probation officers who are supposed to handle all issues in the district related to children. So this little money that we give them is the same money that they use to trace the families of these neglected children, to help us handle the family wrangles and conflicts that are in homes. So it is very little. We should also think about them as we are budgeting, because we are the ones who do the what? Appropriation. Right Honorable Speaker, you have told me to say in summary. One thing I will conclude on is the issue of you talked about violence against children. I can't leave this place without talking about it. Of course, the protection of children as a ministry, we put in place a child helpline, and we have 68 district action centers. And that child helpline, anywhere in Uganda, we have tried to mobilize Ugandans, sensitize them, any child in schools, them, if you're in danger, please call Sauti 116 and we shall come to support you. And we have supported very many children. Even if a child calls from Karamoja, we are able to trace where this child is and we help them. Whether the child calls from Kabale or calls from Arua or calls from Gulu, we always come in to support them because we have a network to that. Right Honorable Speaker, lastly, was on the issue of the I told you I'll come. The intercountry adoption. Right Honorable Speaker, yes, we have not yet ratified to the Hague Convention, but there were reasons to that. One, as a country,
order,
we realized.
Order.
Honorable Baka, you switch on the microphone and say order. The whole of you. Oh, Charles. Now I'll not allow that order. Minister, go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Government has not yet ratified because in the thinking of Uganda laws, of course, the comprehensive laws that we have, we realized that from our Constitution and the Children's Amendment Act 2016, Ugandan courts of law can handle. In the Hague Convention, it entails removing the powers of the courts of law to have an independent body to handle the intercountry adoption. And we realize that this may not work for us for now, unless we change our Constitution and we change the Children's Act. But meanwhile, all this, anything to do with the children's intercountry adoption is centralized in the family court, which is in Makindye, and it is carried from there. And strictly, it is done by the courts of law, no one else. We do the movement, we do the searching, but at the end of the day, it is done by the courts of law, the family division. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
A clarification.
Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, they are telling me about the Children's Authority. The National Children's Authority is very functional, Right Honorable Speaker. And the Children's Authority is very functional, apart from being underfunded, but it is functional. For example, from a budget of 900 million, we are now given 375 million. And from that 375, basically we are paying salaries. There is no activity that will be done.
So
on the issue of the board, Right Honorable Speaker,
salaries for people who are not working, what are they doing?
They are still waiting for rationalization. Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of the board, we got a letter from Ministry of Public Service, which stopped us from having those boards and recruiting. And we are waiting for them to open. And after they have opened, we shall put it in place. Thank you so much.
The way you people are shouting, I admire when you start shouting like that. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the basis of the Children Authority was to help children, not to help people to earn salary. Right Honorable Speaker, the little money that was sent, people are just earning salary. Now the minister is telling us that she received a letter not to constitute the board. Therefore, the relevance and the value for that authority to the Ugandans is not there. Through your office, Right Honorable Speaker, through your office, Right Honorable Speaker, wouldn't it be procedurally right for you to stop whatever is going on in this sector until they operationalize it, until they formulate it, until they make it useful, until Ugandans benefit from it? Otherwise, Right Honorable, it's an avenue for people to siphon money, to take money and earn salary, Right Honorable.
Honorable members, the committee has very good recommendations. And we are going to ask for action taken reports under Rule 220. The ministry is going to have this report, look at the report, and bring actions taken on this report. We will continue talking here and will not get any feedback. I suggest that we have these reports adopted and we ask for actions taken. Honorable members, I am putting a question that the report of equal opportunities on state of children affairs in the country be adopted with amendments by this House, and those in favor sign the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Minister, we need actions taken on each and every recommendation. Whoever wants to quarrel, go and quarrel in the corridor. Next item.
Item 6.
And remember, you've been a leader of opposition. Leader of opposition is supposed to be a calm person, like in Poga. Next item.
Item 6, bill second reading, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Bill 2023.
Honorable members, we have the narcotic. Where is the chair? Yes.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, it has become a habit of the executive to ignore requests of clarification from members. And the only way we can get information from them is for us to seek clarification for them. When members of the executive habitually make it to themselves that they will ignore and keep quiet and then sit, are we proceeding well, Right Honorable Speaker? Especially when the Honorable Minister who was here chose actually to run out immediately. Shall you, if we also choose not to listen to them?
We still have a Minister of Gender, Honorable Samuel there.
So
and,
is it?
And Hajat, you've been out. Hajat, you've been out. You've just come. And I also want to say this. It has also become a habit that some of you start heckling. That must stop. Don't touch some people on the wrong side. You start heckling, and this has come from my very good friends. I will name you and I will take an action. Stop heckling. The presiding officer, I have said we want action taken. What else do you need as legislature? You need an action taken on whatever has been recommended. And first of all, we are saying, before you reach to this level, first emphasize on parenting. You as leaders go back on ground and have bylaws in your area and ensure that children don't move in the night. I wish I was your voters. I would tell the voters, don't vote for these people because they don't protect the next generation. Doctor, you have something to say?
Honorable Speaker, with due respect to your chair.
He's making a clarification on what you people want.
Let me clarify my stand, Chair. I didn't seek any clarification. Because I knew I was outside, I restrained myself and sat. But I feel sympathetic for a member who says clarification 10 times, and the minister says, I'll give
You
you
are
space.
not the speaker of other people. You are not a speaker of other people.
Right, Honorable Speaker, even us on the front bench, we are guided by the rules of procedure. And the rules are very clear that points of information and points of clarification are discretional. The member holding the floor has the discretion to allow a point of clarification or not. So why would you want us to have special rules for the front bench? But we always endeavor to explain and respond to issues. So I don't want my
Hajat,
sister.
I know you're a very disciplined person. When you say you'll move out in protest, you don't need to move out in protest. Just walk, go home and cook for Haji. Tomorrow come back and you get it. Don't go in protest. Just walk out. You have the freedom.
So, right, Honorable Speaker, I think the honorable members should not develop a tendency of wanting to discredit the front bench. We are colleagues, we are members of this house, and therefore it's unfair for my sister to make comments as if we in the front bench do not cooperate with the rest of the members in the house.
Honorable members, we have a bill, a very important bill. We have a very important bill. Honorable members. Next item.
Item 6, bill second reading, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Bill 2023.
Honorable members, this bill proceed on.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we are going to handle a very complicated bill. And one of the reasons why we are having this bill back in Parliament today was
Why
because
are you debating in anticipation?
No, I'm just bringing the background, Right Honorable. Right Honorable Speaker, I was requesting for your guidance.
Sit. Honorable members, we have a very important bill on the floor. This bill was returned back on the issues of quorum. There was no other issue that was raised, to the best of my knowledge. However, when we referred the bill to the committee has made amendments in all the clauses, virtually all the clauses. When you look at rules 61(4), an amendment shall not be permitted if, in opinion of the speaker, it substantially alters the principle of the question proposed. These amendments have an effect on the principles of this bill. I am referring back this bill to the committee. And should be harmonized with the Attorney General and report back to this House. And I want to advise the leadership of committees, when you are given a bill, don't go and make changes the way you wish to. Don't change the principle of the bill. This one is not the bill we had in the House. This is not the bill we had in the House. Bring back the bill we had in the House, not with the amendments of 100%. So the bill is referred back to the committee for amendment. Next item. I am happy we have seen Honorable Nankabira here. Honorable Nankabira, you had a paper to present on the floor. I hope you have something. You had You've had a number of documents you're supposed to present. Honorable Chivumi, do you remember them? She's here. Do you remember them? Okay, you remind her on the document she's supposed to present. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, the minister was directed to lay the documents related to the gold waiver, where we lost 616 billion, courtesy of a statutory instrument you issued. And this parliament still awaits for you to come back here and you make good of the instruction that were issued to you.
Thank you. There is a procedural matter first.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, under our rules, the management of bills in committee must be complete. We members of parliament and your staff face problems of lack of technical people from the ministry to guide the process and lack of participation of people from the First Parliamentary Council. And hence, you find that members of parliament and the technical team are left with no option but to make amendments based on the finding from the public. And therefore, Madam Speaker, don't you think it would be proper that you direct the Office of the Attorney General and the Prime Minister to ensure that they have full participation during the committee stage to avoid reoccurrence of this situation? I beg, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, the technical staff we expected on this bill were from Internal Affairs. AG, did you send the team?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to qualify what the Honorable Member talked about, the Honorable Ekanya. In this case, my minister appeared before the committee, and I think the point was more about, like you guided, that the committee substantially changed the content of the bill as was presented at the first reading. So that's why, in your wisdom, we think we need to harmonize and come back before the second reading. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
And maybe AG, you need to, Government Chief Whip, you need to advise AG's chambers to be available to guide the committee. But our legal team is always in the committee. Our legal team is always in the committee. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I strongly believe that the learned Attorney General is more than willing, because I am also in possession of a copy of a letter that he wrote dated 19th July 2023, addressed to you on the same. But I undertake to inform the learned Attorney General to be present or represented as the committee considers this bill in line with your directive.
Maybe let's hear from the chair of the committee, what could have happened.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs duly considered and processed this bill. First of all, it is the 9th Parliament that passed the Narcotics and Phytotropic Substance Control Act then, which was annulled in the Constitutional Court. After annulment, there is no law at all. So the Minister of Internal Affairs read a bill for the first time, this time titled Narcotics and the Phytotropic Substance Control Bill of 2023. and you duly referred it to the relevant committee, and the committee sat and entertained both from the minister, the sponsor of the bill, to the all members of the public and stakeholders. And in doing that, Right Honorable Speaker,
the substantial changes that you made were on the bill that was laid on the table that you went to scrutinize.
yes, Right Honorable Speaker, when a bill is referred to the committee and the rules of procedure, it demand that once you have listened where you find you need to amend or improve, you do.
There is a limit, not 100%.
We did not do 100%, Right Honorable Speaker, but I take your guidance.
No, there is a limit. If you do it substantially and it changes the principle.
Right Honorable Speaker, in fact, the committee but I take your guidance, Right Honorable Speaker. The learned Attorney General spoke to me this morning about the changes.
You know, honorable members, it's not that we know everything or we don't know. I want us to accept when they tell you there is a mistake here, let's accept it and make it. The sponsor of the bill has said there is substantial change, alteration. Go back to the committee and harmonize. And you know how sensitive this narcotic thing. Most of us here are consumers. It's a very sensitive bill, so we must be very careful with it. Honorable Minister of Energy, I wish you could first see this thing of Honorable Chivumbi thing, request is very important.
Equal and beneficial. Honorable Speaker, there is also something which you need to determine at this critical moment. Actually, while writing the report, it became critical and divergent views came out, which you need to clarify. Right, Honorable Speaker, when this bill was laid here, the following day, the Attorney General appealed to the Supreme Court. And a controversial issue which arose, whether now the matter did not become sub judice. And
the matter of sub judice can only be determined by the Speaker.
That's why I'm bringing it to you.
And I already determined that there is no sub judice. They wrote to me and I determined there is no sub judice.
It did not show us the letter. Thank you very much.
It was not for your consumption. Honorable, you people, on the same. Yes, Dr. Lulume.
Right, Honorable Speaker. In your communication, you have said that most of you are consumers.
Not us.
And let me complete this statement. And Madam Speaker, I believe this kind of statement can be
We are not consumers, okay? We are not consumers in
Thank
this
you very
house,
much, Right Honorable
but
Speaker.
most of the people out there are consumers, including,
Thank you very much, Right Honorable
including, but not limited to some people.
I just wanted to take exception of that, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you
Not
very much.
limited to some people here. Yes, Dr. Achuti.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I was just seeking your guidance because the title of the bill is Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances. And when you talk of psychotropic substances, we're talking of antidepressants, we're talking of painkillers, we're talking of what we call anxiolytic, anti-anxiety drugs. All these are medical and health related. Wouldn't it be procedurally right that also the health committee jointly together with the committee looks into this bill? That was the guidance that I was seeking. because I was just looking at the report and there's a lot of health related aspects. And this is a cross-cutting bill across two ministries. Thank you.
He has raised a very important issue. And whereas Dr. Lulume was not first to understand that all of us take antidepressants, that we don't take coffee. Which kind of doctor? Doctor, the front doctor, you tell him, you advise him. Dr. Namara, tell him.
Yeah, thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I was also surprised to see that the committee did not consult us about these drugs. Actually, there are many drugs, including morphine, including codeine, including the famous fentanyl, which are all prescribed by doctors, and we want to be involved in the processing of this bill. Thank you so much.
Committee of Defense work together with the Committee of Health in processing this bill and harmonize this bill together. Thank you. Dr. Nankabira.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Lulume is a gynecologist. Just, thank you so much, Right? That was on a lighter note. Although I've never been his client. Right on. Right.
Honorable, by the way, that is my gyno doctor.
Uh-huh.
Yes, he's a gyno. No, he's a gyno.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is one of the most active ministries regarding attendance of Parliament. And I want to stand here and thank my two colleagues, Honorable Okasai, Opolot Sidronius, and Honorable Peter Lokeris. And we've been working together. And sometimes I face challenges of meetings that are called State House, but I always make sure that the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is represented here in Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, when I presented a statement on the gold levy at that time, and the Deputy Speaker was in the chair, I laid on table the statutory instrument that I signed, which levied the $200 per a kilo of processed gold. I've been reminded that there are other documents that I was supposed to lay. And I beg for your indulgence, Right Honorable, that I go back and get organized and lay those other documents that I am required to lay on table.
Thank you so much, Rose. Actually, what we will do, we'll write to you, informing you on the documents that we want you to lay on table. So we are going to write to you, honorable members. You know, with the thing, you know, you tie up a presiding officer a lot with these issues of procedure, order, what, those ones all the time. You tire the presiding officer so much. And the presiding officer is also a human being just like you, who is bound to get tired. So I adjourn the house to 2 tomorrow.
Can't we just get them from the office? After I know the person I'm with.